Well, hello out there. It's good to be here streaming again on our Saturday live stream, and it's good to see people already out there in the room. Neil, Tim, Bobbert, Gilbert, and anyone else out there, say hello in the chat. So I know you're there. We've got looks like there's 4 people out there so far, and I know that we'll have some more joining us pretty soon. So this is going to be an interesting topic today. I'm looking forward to it. It's all about balance, which is something that I think I'm continually working on. It's something that I don't think we talk about all that much. Hey, Joanna. Hey, Bree. Good to see y'all. So I'm looking forward to having the conversation. I think actually I might learn something, so maybe it'll help me out. Let's bring Mary. Mary is visiting. Actually, she's traveling and she's in San Francisco right now, and she's in a hotel and she's on her phone. Let's bring her up now. And
Hi.
there she is. Hey, hey, Mary, how you doing?
Good. I'm really good. I can't see you right now, but I can hear you.
That's
So
fine.
I'll work on that.
Okay.
How are you, John? It's good to be here.
Well, I tell you what, your sound is coming in crystal clear, so I'm glad about that.
Okay, good.
You're in San Francisco. How are things going over there?
There we go. Okay, well, I have some really, really wonderful news to tell you. I am in San Francisco, in Japantown, in my hotel room. I came out here to see 2 kids that are my godchildren, and they're what that means is my best friend had 3 kids, and I'm their auntie. And so
Oh.
I came out here to see them before the baby was born. And it just so happens when I showed up yesterday afternoon, she was in labor.
Oh.
So all night I have been at the hospital in a birthing room, and a baby was born, and we have a little girl.
Aw.
And she's wonderful and healthy, and mom and baby are doing great.
That's amazing.
It is. And I haven't had much sleep.
No, I bet not.
But I'm doing good. It was a wonderful, crazy
There you are.
experience. Here we go. It was a great, wonderful moment to be here, and I'm so happy I was able to help. And it was a fabulous hospital, fabulous team, and the baby was 7 pounds 4 ounces, and she's beautiful.
Nice. Well, I'm so glad that you could be there for them. That's a beautiful
Yes,
story.
it was all perfect timing, and I was their wedding officiant, so I was able to.
Wow.
Yeah,
so you've been there for 2 of their most important things in their lives.
We were saying that, yes, and they both did great, and they're both doing great, and it was a crazy, 75-mile-an-hour rush hour traffic through the tunnel in the Golden Gate Bridge to get to Marin, which is where the baby was born. It was a lot of things happened quickly, and it would all worked out perfectly. So I feel really tired, but very inspired and grateful this morning. Really grateful.
Yeah, that's just such a beautiful story. That's amazing that you could experience that. And
I know.
now you need to be with this kid for all of their major accomplishments in life. Go to the graduations and everything else.
I plan to be there for
their
that
marriage.
graduation. Yes. Or not. If they don't want to go to school, that's fine. But
that's
I'm going to be. They call me Aunt Rah Rah in the family. So, because the firstborn couldn't say Mary, so he would say Rah Rah. So it kind of stuck.
Nice. Okay.
So they call me Rah or Rah Rah. So Rah Rah was right there.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Wonderful experience. So thank you. So yes, big news.
And today we're talking about balance. And hey, Barb, good to see you down there. And I was telling Mary, and I posted here, and hi Gilbert, and I posted in the chat there that I'm not quite here. I have made some progress in this area. I have made some intentional progress in this area, and I've cut some things out of my life, and I'm trying to focus on things that I really value and like. But I'm not. The time that I'm spending is not comporting with what I value really. And I need to be honest about that and start working a little bit harder on getting those things aligned. So I'm thinking that this little conversation that we're going to have, and hopefully some participation with those in the chat and so forth, I think that I might be inspired to do some more work here, because I definitely need it for sure.
Well, I think we all do. I mean, I don't think anybody goes, oh, I'm perfectly balanced. in any given moment. I don't know if
No,
that's humanly possible,
probably
but it's a
not.
wonderful goal to strive for. And
Yep,
it's really good to be aware,
that's the
to have the
thing.
awareness of where you're at on that spectrum.
That's the thing. It's like so much in recovery and the program is involves just being aware of things because you're never going to be perfect. You're never going to
No,
be perfectly in line with everything in the world, but at least you're aware, like if you're angry or whatever. And we're going to talk about some of that. So
yeah,
anyway, we yeah, Neil says cutting some things out, make it more manageable. I had to do that, Neil, and I'll talk about that during this live stream, but I definitely had to cut some things out that I wasn't necessarily spending time with, but they were things that I had to do and they were weighing on my mind and I had to cut it out. So I hear that. So anyway, we found a reading from Beyond Belief, Agnostic Musings for 12-Step Life, and it's actually from June the 12th. And I'm gonna go ahead and do a screen share of that so you can see it on the screen, and then I will read it for you all, and we can just use this. This actually is a very good reading, and it matches with the thoughts that I had come across as I was kind of thinking about this episode. I hope you all can see that okay. I might be able to just do it like that. Whatever.
yeah, that's good.
All right. So here we go. This is June 12th from Beyond Belief Agnostic Musings for 12th Step Life. Meditation brings wisdom. Lack of meditation leaves ignorance. Know well what leads you forward and what holds you back, and choose the path that leads to wisdom. And I'm not going to be able to pronounce this name, but that is Prince Gautama Siddhartha. And they lived from 563 to 483 BCE. So here's the reading. Peace and balance are the rewards for practicing step 11. For the young at heart, the exercise of meditation might seem dull or unimaginative. Peace and balance may be synonymous with boring. How about living life to the fullest? Try going days without boring old sleep, taking in maximum stimulation. Live extreme sobriety. So how's that working out so far? Is it rewarding, or is it the net result of is the net result somewhat unfulfilling? No matter how much lust for life we have, the art of living well is to live in balance. There's no rule against overdoing it periodically and living through the consequences. We don't want to live rigidly, but we value the halt warning. That's right, Neil. We value the halt warning. Don't get too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Overstimulation leads to exhaustion, leaving us susceptible to all or nothing thinking. This may lead to acting out and then remorse. That's my story. We think meditation, we think of meditation as a path to discovering the secret to how we tick. Peacefulness comes from self-knowledge. Jung said that those who look outside themselves will dream, and those who search inside will awaken. If our answer to the dream turned nightmare that addiction was is to find a better dream, fine. But to awaken, we don't seek out there for wisdom, we find it in here. After exercising mindfulness in our routines, we see that reckless abandon was not much of a lifestyle choice. The truth turned out to be that we were not living life to the fullest. We were escaping it, on the run with nowhere in particular to go. A little bit of letting our hair down, self indulgence, and even overdoing it periodically is vital to a rich and spontaneous life. Rigidity is not sobriety. We learn to trust our instincts, and we can tell when we are living life to the fullest or hiding out in plain view. What is my attitude toward balance, serenity, and peace? Do I entertain fears about recovery making me boring? Does sobriety ever seem lame? And that is the reading from Beyond Belief, Agnostic Musings for 12-Step Life. And I really think he really hit the nail on the head for me anyway. I could relate to so much of that.
So much of it. So much of it. And I really like, there's so many things to talk about in here. You know, sobriety is not rigidity.
That
And recovery is not conformity either, by the way.
yeah. Yeah, I like that. That it's an easy trap to fall into, I think, is to say, okay, these are the set rules that I'm going to follow, and I'm going to stick to this because this is my recovery. And then, as it says here, you lose all spontaneity, which brings some joy to life. There's got to be some room for sometimes going overboard, and you just have to be. That's part of balance, I guess.
Yeah,
Is,
just
is
letting
having
go.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, I always say if I want to have fun, what's the point of being sober if you're miserable?
yeah. So, I was thinking about this, and I'd given it some thought, and I was thinking about a couple of different things. I was thinking about halt. I was thinking about actually steps 10 through 12 as being balance steps. And I was thinking about some things I learned in Smart Recovery about basically taking an inventory of what your values are in life, and then asking yourself if you're putting your time in what you really value. And so, like, for example, if you value your family, are you spending time with your family? And you might find that you're not. So if your time isn't matching with what you value, then you're out of balance. And I was kind of thinking about that and thinking about what I value in my life and how I'm spending my time. And there is some need for balance. And then also have to look at the fact that there's only so much time in a day that
That's
is
right.
free to do things other than sleep and work for me. Those take up a lot of my time, so it's a challenge for sure. It's like a time management challenge.
It is a time management challenge. And how do you do that?
I know it's not easy. So anyway, let's talk about a few things here. There are some comments in here. First of all, Bree says that only when bicycling does one concentrate upon balance as one moves through space. Cycling equals meditation, moving through nature. Meditation is a tool that we can talk about today as a way of kind of bringing ourselves into balance. And Joanne says she does not want to be thought of as boring. I don't think that any of us are. Even though I can multitask, I learned over time that it just makes me too anxious. So prioritizing whatever I do is more beneficial for my mental health. And then Barb says, I know how John talks about budgeting time. Yes, I like how John talks about budgeting time. Yes. Okay. So anyway, Mary, should I just kind of maybe show you some of the stuff I've been thinking about or talk?
Yes, I want to hear.
Okay. So here's what
Yes.
I've been thinking. Okay. So I wrote some stuff out for myself, and I thought that one of the things for me is that um, if the most important recovery to me, being sober to me, means having a happy, healthy, fulfilling, and balanced life. That's really what the end goal is, I think, for being a sober person, is having that. So that means that this is really important because I've gone through all the other crap. I've gone through dealing with the
Mm-hmm.
cravings, and I've gone through, getting my life manageable and so forth. But now I really need to have a more fulfilling life.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's going to change. My priorities and the things I value are going to change. In a few years I'll be retiring. And I'll have more time.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be more important for me to focus probably on different things in my
Mm-hmm.
life than I do
Mm-hmm.
now. So I know that things are going to change. So the first thing I thought about is that if I'm going to be living a balanced life, I need to be, like we talked about and like the reading said, aware of my physical and emotional cues. And one of the easiest tools for that is halt,
Yes.
recognizing when you're hungry, angry, lonely, and tired.
Mm-hmm. And those are extremes that we might have to do something with, like the reading said. And
Mm-hmm.
usually, if I try to escape it or fix it, my first choice is not a healthy one, usually.
Mm-hmm.
So I think halt is good to just sort of sort out what we are feeling when we're uncomfortable. Am I
Mm-hmm.
hungry? Then I need to eat food.
Right.
Am I lonely? Am I isolating? Am I tired? Do I need to just stop and rest?
Yeah. And oftentimes, during a busy day, I might work through lunch. I
Mm-hmm.
might I might just be focused on whatever needs to be done at work and not take the dog for a walk or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I might start feeling myself getting angry and so forth. If I'm not aware of all this stuff, if I'm not aware that these things are happening, I can't really address it. And then something is going to happen in the end. I'm going to
Yep.
be miserable, or I'm going to make someone miserable, basically.
Yep.
And it's all because I'm not really focusing on balancing my life on an hour by hour basis, really.
Because you're irritated.
Right.
You're
Right.
irritated. So it's good to be aware. So awareness, and I think the meditation comes in because it sort of increases our muscle for awareness.
Yep.
It's a way to practice awareness.
And I think that like if you take a look at the halt thing, like hungry. So, it's important that we eat, but it's probably also important for me anyway that I try to eat more healthy,
Mm-hmm.
so that because all these things kind of build on the
Yeah.
other,
They
because
create the environment. Yep.
mhm,
Yep.
if I eat healthy foods on a regular basis, and if I eat with someone else, a friend, a loved
Uh-huh.
one, you're really taking care of a lot of needs at one time.
Mm-hmm.
You're fulfilling your basic need for food, but you're also taking care of that loneliness factor.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do eat well, you have more energy during the day and will sleep better at night.
Absolutely.
So all
Yep.
basic stuff that we should have learned in kindergarten, I suppose.
But nobody ever teaches that when you're a child. Not really. They might now, but they didn't then. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tim says, in extreme sobriety and taking the steps to get out, stimulation is not a solution, and boring sleep is fundamental to me.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Bobbert says, still using halt. Hunger is the biggest culprit. I wonder how that is, Bobbert. I probably honestly don't allow myself to get hungry, which is probably a bad thing. On the rare occasion, I might, but I think sometimes with me that if I'm stressed, I run to the refrigerator or something,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah,
unfortunately
totally.
for me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm a total stress eater.
Yeah.
Absolute stress eater. Yep.
That's not good. So yeah, if I did eat healthy and regular meals at a regular time with a friend or loved one, it would be better, so that I don't maybe react that way. I don't know. Joanna says that tiredness is a bigger trigger for her. That if she's grouchy or irritable, she'll think about drinking.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I still do. If I get really freaked out in some way, yeah, that thought always comes up. Like, if this was a time to drink, it would be a good time. It's a good excuse. It's just how I'm wired. It doesn't mean I act on it, but yeah.
Yeah. And what happens to me too, if I don't get enough sleep, so I inevitably do something stupid at work, and it inevitably means I send a stupid email to somebody in anger,
Uh-huh.
that
Yeah.
happens when I'm tired, and then I send the email, and then I look and read it, and I understand it, that I didn't really understand the email right, and I was all been out of shape over basically nothing. It's
Yes.
embarrassing. It's embarrassing, but it
Well,
happens when I
that
don't
that
sleep.
yeah, that whole pause when agitated thing is important. To just pause before you're about to say the thing.
Hmm.
If the thing is worth saying or the email's worth writing, you can pause for a second also
Yep.
before you send it. But
Yep.
that's why I like the simple slogans that kind of get embedded in your brain, so you can kind of use them when you really need them. They float up to the surface,
Yeah.
like
This is a
halt,
good one. This is
pause.
a real good one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I haven't thought about it in a long time. I think that, I was thinking about it in the early days more in line with what Joanna was thinking about as a trigger to drink, that,
Right.
and it would be, I know if you're not taking care of yourself like this, especially in your early sobriety, this could set up a possible relapse, for sure, because you're not thinking clearly, you're not at your best.
Right. And
And
you're
so that,
very uncomfortable.
mhm.
Yep.
And I did give that a lot of thought now, but now thinking about it in terms of where I'm at in my life today, just finding balance, it comes into play as well. Fred says that for him, lonely is big for him. He's retired and lives by himself, so needs to reach out to make connections.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I feel better being on vacation. It's the first trip I've had in over 2 years. I've been isolating during COVID. And so just being out in the world of other human beings, I already feel different in a good
Hmm.
way. In a good
Yeah.
way. to the point, usually when you get to the other side and you look back and you're like, oh, I didn't realize I was so isolating or I was so irritable. You don't realize what you're carrying while you're in it. It's when you get more peaceful and calm and relaxed, I feel, on the other side, that I go, wow. Which is why I took this vacation, because I was working too much and I was getting really
Mm.
irritated and really tired, and all
Mhm.
those halt was full blown. And I was like, I have to do something. So I need to step away, let someone do my job. I'm going to take a week off and regroup. And that's what I've done. And it's been wonderful.
That's great.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think you just need a change of scenery. It really
Yes.
means a lot to be able to do
Hmm.
that.
It does it. And it brings so many wonderful insights that I wouldn't have had home in
Hmm.
my house. I wouldn't have had
Right.
them. Yeah. And so it
Yeah.
also, I think so talk a little bit more, John, about what a balanced life looks like for you, because I think everybody else has a different dream. Like the reading said, it depends on what your dream is. What's your dream to know when
Well,
you're living a balanced life?
and I think you're right. I think this is going to change for me. But where I'm at right now, I wrote this down. I said the end goal of recovery for me is to live a happy and fulfilling life where I spend my time as follows. So this is where I think I need to be spending my time. Nurturing relationships with my wife, family, and friends should be my first thing. Finding meaning and purpose in my work, because I still have to work. I spend a lot of 40 hours a week working, and I don't want
Right.
to spend any more time than that either. 40 hours is enough.
Good.
But I do I while I'm working, I may as well have get something out of it other than just a paycheck. Um, Realizing life goals, like this is probably more of a longer term thing, but like I'm thinking now, I'm at the age where I'll be thinking about retiring soon. So thinking about traveling and retiring in the next few years. My wife and I do want to travel a lot, so those are goals that I have. I don't know if that necessarily means that I have to spend a lot of time doing those things now, but I think that my time will shift in the future to those things. And that takes me to the next thing. Well, yeah, taking care of my health through doctor visits, eating healthy and exercising is important. And then spending this podcast. Okay.
Yeah.
So the podcast, and this is where my balance, I'm at a little bit out of whack. So the podcast is good for me in a lot of ways. It helps me connect with other people like today. I learn and grow. I have a creative pursuit. I get to do things like learn how to edit audio and video, and it's all that creative activity that I
Yes.
love.
Uh-huh.
And it's a long-term thing that keeps me interested in life, and it keeps me in recovery and learning about recovery and connected to the recovery community, not just in the secular AA world, but in the greater world of recovery. So in that sense, the podcast is just an amazing thing for me. But sometimes I think that I let it take priority over some of those other things that I value more, like nurturing relationships and stuff like that. So that's when I do recognize that there's something that's out of balance there, and I need to do something. I've gotten a little bit better. I've made some progress in that I try to stay on a regular schedule now with the podcast. Like last year, I found myself going through booms and bust periods where I would just be like working like mad, and I would do like 3 or 4 episodes. I'd post them out in 1 week, and then I'd get all burned out and crash, and I'd go like a month or two maybe without posting, and then I go crazy again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really trying to space things out a little bit more so that every week I post 1 episode a week, and I'm on schedule, and I keep on schedule. And that has helped. That has helped a little bit. I hear sirens back there.
Yeah. Sorry. Nothing I can
It's
do
okay.
about
It's San
that.
Francisco.
You want me
That's
to turn
cool.
my mic
No, you're
off?
fine. No, you're
Okay.
fine. I
All
don't
right.
mind at all. But yeah, so that's so for me, I guess that's what it looks like right now, is trying to look at the things that are really important to me, what I value in my life, my relationships, my health, and my hobbies like this,
Mm-hmm.
and putting and then figuring out, how to make time for these things, appropriate time for these things,
Right.
not let one of them get more important than it should be,
Right. And
you
does
know?
that sort of run into, which is something that I have called workaholism? It's like if I sort of go to extremes with things, like like you said, if one podcast is good, then I'm going to do six in a week, sort of thing. I still have that mentality that I have to constantly be aware of, If one is good, then 10 is better. And I
Hmm.
still do that I can do that with anything now. And I just monitor it so that it doesn't create harm for me or it doesn't get too much. But I can I can work way past when I should have stopped with
Yep.
anything. Artwork,
Yep.
work, sponsoring, meetings, Netflixing. I can overdo anything on any
Hmm.
given day. I'm sure I'm overdoing something.
Yeah. I
So
can
I'm
too.
I'm not sure. Moderation has never been my forte, and I don't understand it. I don't think I have that capacity, but I do like boring now. I think
Hmm.
boring is good for me. And at one point, I had a huge physical challenge, and I couldn't really walk. I had a joint issue, and so I had to slow way down to a level of very simple. And I realized, wow, a lot of people live their lives like this. I've been going on high speed for a long time. And it
Hmm.
wasn't until I was forced to stop and go slower that I really realized that if you had 30 minutes left before an appointment, you didn't need to do three things in the 30 minutes. You could just do one thing.
Right.
And then you would be calmer and less frenetic and less, and I just slowed it down. But it wasn't until I was forced to. And I learned a lot from that experience.
Yeah. I know. I can definitely do that. Try to pack too much into one day. Like I think I can do all that. But I've never thought about this thing as workaholism, but it definitely is. If this were a job and I was this passionate about it, like I think that some people can be passionate about their jobs that they get paid for. I
Right?
could I can see how that could hook someone, because that if this if I that's the danger. Like when I do retire, am I going to
Yes.
start spending like a whole bunch of time doing this
Well,
and
you
then
could. Yeah.
yeah,
You
you know?
and you just and I think meditation or slowing down or however you become more aware, listening to the birds in the backyard, whatever it takes to slow down and just be in my body and listen and feel helps me know where I'm at. Because when I'm going 100 miles an hour, I think I'm doing great. But really, if I slow down, I'm like, what's out of whack here? What do I need right now? How do I know when to stop?
Yeah.
And volunteering, you can say yes too much to volunteering. Always being the yes person and you can do it, do it, do it, do it. And then you're the one that suffers because you're so tired.
That is so true, and that can be a big problem in AA. It has been for me. Um, Bobbert actually made a point. Bobbert said that when fun becomes a job, I have to step aside and walk away from it. Well, when service starts feeling like that, when it's no longer service in AA or service in volunteering for a nonprofit or whatever you might want to do, when that becomes like it feels like it's work and it's no
Yeah.
longer personally fulfilling for you, it's like what Robert says, it's time to walk away and step away from it for
Right.
sure.
When it
And
feels
there's
like an
nothing wrong with that.
obligation that you don't want to do.
Absolutely. Then you
Yeah.
just got to step away. And
Yeah.
I tell you what, I got there. I got there and I had a very, very difficult time recognizing it, admitting it, because there was a lot of guilt associated with it, with walking away.
Yep. Yes.
And you get so many attaboys and congratulations and you're so wonderful for doing this work. Thank you so much for your service, blah, blah, blah. And so there's a certain amount of, I guess, ego inflation that comes with all of that. But I got to the point, Mary, where I was so miserable because people were wanting me to get things done. And I was like not into doing it at all. I didn't have whatever for whatever reason, I didn't have it in me to do it. I didn't I and it used to be something I loved to do, but I just couldn't do it anymore. And it was like a freaking job.
Mm-hmm.
And so I quit.
Good. But
And it
that
was
was
the
good
best
that you
thing I
did
could have
that.
done.
Yes. It was really good you allowed yourself the ability to do that. And I think
Yeah,
it also kind of runs along the lines of being able to say no and being
it
okay with it.
does.
Yeah.
It does. Absolutely. And I tell you what, I was really proud of myself when I first said no, because I just said it in one word, no,
Yeah. And
no.
didn't have to explain
I
it. It was
didn't,
just
yep,
like,
no
no.
explanation, just no,
Yeah.
no. And maybe on the other end, it might have sounded like kind of rude or whatever, but I really felt like I had to be definite and just say no,
Very
no.
clearly. very
Yes.
clearly. No, maybe, just no.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's still something I need to practice with. But doing that is so important with finding balance because it's easy. Like we were talking, sometimes things change in your life. We change as people.
Yes.
We can't keep doing the same thing day after day for the rest of our lives and
Right.
indefinitely. There has to
It's
come a
okay to
time.
change. It's okay to
Yeah.
change your mind and just say, well, I said yes then, but now I'm saying no.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So anyway, yeah. So with that comes I realized that I made the right decision for sure doing that. But I want to also maintain the relationships that I had with the people that I was doing this work with. And one danger that I have that I recognize with me as a pattern for my life is I just I just make clean breaks with everything and
You
just
just bolt. Yeah.
I'm gone.
Total bolt. Yep.
Yeah, and it comes from growing up, moving around a lot. It was just easy to say, "I'm never going to see you again. Bye."
Yeah.
I'm off to
Yeah.
another.
And you never did. Right.
Yeah, off to another part of my life now.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do that. I want to maintain friendships and relationships that I've built up over time. And so when I change and my interests evolve, I don't necessarily want to lose people because of that either. So anyway,
Yes.
that's a little bit off topic, but
No,
something that
but
was
it's
on my
also
mind.
it involves people pleasing. Like
Mhm.
if we have the people pleasing thing and we can't say no, and we're afraid to say no, and we think that they'll be disappointed, so their needs become more important than ours,
Yep.
and their agenda is more important than our agenda. And it's about getting your voice and just saying, no, I can't do it. And
Yep.
people will still love you and like you. They'll just go to the next person and get them to do it.
Yep.
Yeah. We're not indispensable.
No, we're not. And that's another thing too. This is kind of a dark way of saying it, but I thought, if I'm dead, someone else is going to have to do this. Someone else, they'll have to figure out something else,
That's right.
you
They
know?
sure will.
So just pretend like I'm dead. Move on.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
But
But you know
so
what I think when I'm trying to make a decision about whether I should do it or not, I tell myself if it didn't matter whether you said yes or no, it truly didn't matter to the universe or to anybody that's asking you this, what would you really want to do? And it's usually no.
right.
And so I just say, okay, what do I really want? If it doesn't matter, it won't make any difference, then it's usually no. And
Yeah.
so that's a good way of trying to figure out what you do really want. And
Right.
that's part of balance is figuring that out
Yep.
and kind of giving yourself just as much time as you give everybody else.
Yep. Gilbert made a comment appreciating the talk about values and might try a journaling session with that. I got that from Smart Recovery. They have a tool that they call the hierarchy of values that they use a lot. And basically, what they do is you write down what your values are in life, the things that you value, your job, your family, different things like that, and you list those. And oftentimes, a person who is first getting into recovery, they'll list all of these values, and they'll ask, so where does alcohol fit in there? And they say, well, it's not, but you're spending all your time drinking, right? So like when we're in our addiction, we're spending time in something that isn't in compliance, I guess, with our doesn't match with our values.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're drinking or gambling or doing any other kind of addictive behavior, it's
Shopping.
taking you away from your family. It's taking you away from things that you really value in your life, traveling, whatever. And so that's your values. Well, as you move on into recovery, you still have these same values, that they're probably unchanging, your relationships and your health and things like that. And it's still important to live in balance with those values. And sometimes we don't. And having the awareness of when I'm out of balance with those values is important so that I
Yes.
can kind of get myself back aligned again. So,
Yes,
oh,
because
look,
I
Steve Kirkland is there. I mean, Steve, Mary, you nailed the importance of boundaries in relation to creating a balanced life. Good to see
thank
you,
you.
Steve. Wow.
Thank you very much.
See, that's one nice thing about doing the stream at this time of day. People from the UK can join us. So good to see you, Steve. So nice to see you. Nice to have you here.
And I still think the whole thing is about awareness, because when we're doing the thing that we spend all our time doing, we're kind of checking out. Even if it's a good thing, I'm still checking out. So awareness for me is to be present
Mm-hmm.
within, because when I'm checking out, I can be in the zone when I'm doing art, or I can be doing workaholism too much. But when I do things like guided meditations, which I love, that's kind of my go to let someone else help me through. Or
Mm-hmm.
if I just do breathing techniques, it helps me come back into the present moment, into
Mm-hmm.
my body, so that I know I'm here, this is what we're doing, and I can make better choices when I'm not checked out or when I'm going too fast. I make much better choices. And so, when we give up the drink, there's all this time. And that was our main tool and our only tool for getting through life. It fulfilled so many needs that we have to learn new tools that we never learned. We maybe never learned them from the time we were born. And so it's just learning new tools and how to do self-care so that we can be present and live the life that we do want, and choose the values that we do want, and choose the time that we do want to spend on those values. But it's important to ask yourself, what is important to you?
It is. You hit on something that I recognized early on in sobriety is the one thing about stopping drinking that I noticed almost immediately was how much more time I had. Isn't that
Absolutely.
amazing? Because drinking
Yes.
took up a lot of time,
A
either
lot.
physically drinking or being
The
sick
hang
from
up.
drinking. Hmm.
Exactly. Exactly.
It would take up a whole weekend or day or whatever.
Totally. At
You
least,
know,
yeah. However many days a week.
yeah, it's ruined. So then all of a sudden you're not doing that, and you do have more time. So that's like almost an immediate need to figure out, okay, how am I going to manage this? What am I going
Yeah.
to do with this time?
Right. And a lot of us have no freaking clue because we've been doing it so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's important for other people to talk about. I'd love to hear what other people do and
Yes.
how they learned to fill that time, and
Yes.
what tools are you using to live a balanced life? What's your favorite tool?
Yeah. Fred, I'll put a link in to the Smart Recovery Toolbox page. There really are some good tools there that I have learned about and actually do use or try to think about anyway, or be aware of them. And the hierarchy of values is an important one to try to kind of take an inventory of what's important to you. I think
Yeah.
is what we're talking about there. So what else did I have to say? So I made some notes here about, so I know what I value for my balanced life, what a balanced life looks for me, how to get there. And I think we've talked about some of this. I want to shift my focus from what I feel I should do to what I want to do and enjoy doing. And that sounds really selfish, but there's a
Hmm.
balance there. There are some things that I have to do for sure. I have to go to work,
Right.
I
Yep.
have to do laundry, I have to do stuff like that. And then there are things that I want to do. I want to play, I want to have fun, you know, and there needs to be some balance between those two things.
Yep.
You know, like I can't just have fun all the time. I got to work. I got to make time for these things.
Yeah.
And so, um, if I'm doing something, and we talked about this a little bit when we talked about getting kind of burned out on service work, if I'm doing something that I thought I wanted to do, but now it feels like something I should do.
Yeah. It's a burden.
Yes, it's a way of kind of thinking about things differently. I know Steve has become a facilitator. He's facilitated his first smart meeting this week.
Wow.
This is so nice, Steve. I
Yeah.
just love Steve. Steve, we need to connect again. I'd love to hear what you're doing with Smart. Um, that is so nice of you to say. I love Smart. I'm learning to. It's kind of funny. I can get myself in trouble because I'm so into this. I, I'm so infiltrated. My mind, my brain, everything is steps, right? And I understand those steps in ways that maybe other people don't. They're pretty personal to me, I guess. And I can look at all these things in Smart and I say, I see steps. I can see what steps those are. And it's terrible because people Smart don't like that. And I have to separate the two, but
Uh-huh.
because they are different. But I get the recovery process seems to be the same for every for this. and there's maybe different ways of defining it, approaching it, doing it, but it's still ultimately the same process of growth and personal awareness, I guess. Yeah.
Personal
Yeah.
awareness.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm so happy to hear that, Steve. I really am. Congratulations. I would be intimidated to facilitate a smart meeting. I really, really would. Um, Francesca, I'm trying to find that balance as well. Aren't we all?
And I don't think
So,
there's ever a moment where a bell rings and we go, oh, I'm in balance.
mm-hmm,
I think I judge it by if I'm not as pissed off as normal, like, am I just feeling like joy, and how relaxed am I feeling? Because for me, it's about I'm relaxed and I'm centered and I'm not like this scrunched up and uptight all the time.
mm-hmm.
And it's, I think if y'all are listening, does anybody have a problem with, like, I don't know how to have fun like I used to when I was drinking? Because part of me, the workaholic in me says, well, once the house is done, the work is done, then you can do the fun thing. So and you never get caught up in your life on housework or work or whatever kind of work. You never get caught up. And so I'm like, you can do that when you get caught up with this. And then it never happens because I'm never caught up. So it's hard for me to stop and say, you now have permission to just have fun. It's hard for me to give myself permission to not do all the stuff on the list and then just go have fun.
I can
But
understand that.
yeah, it's a
No,
practice. It's a practice.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It does make sense to me. That, I could almost see how, maybe, growing up, maybe they said you can't do this until you
Do
make your
that.
bed, make your
Yes.
bed first, and then you can go,
Yes.
you
And I
know.
was I was raised that your house was a value, showed, like you wanted to have a nice clean house that looked like a furniture showroom. And so I'm kind of like still ingrained with that. And if it's not that, I'm like, well, I don't want to just lay here on the couch and read this book, because you still have to go do this. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but the housework's never, I mean,
No,
it's never over. But
it's
it's
never.
hard for me to like let go when things are
Yeah,
wabi sabi.
yeah, yeah.
And
Well,
there's
Bobbert really
perfection.
disappointed me, and maybe depressed me. He says being retired doesn't necessarily mean you have all the time in the world. I was really kind of looking forward to.
Well,
No,
when the lockdown happened and everything's shut down, and it was like we finally had time to catch up on all the stuff, because you
yeah,
couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't do anything. But did you really get caught up? Not
no,
really.
not really.
Exactly. 3 months later, you still had stuff you hadn't done yet.
Yep, absolutely. So, what else we got going on here? Why don't I go through this a little bit? I was thinking about the 12 steps in relation to balance, and it's not like I put a whole lot of time in this, but I put a little bit of time. I started thinking, and I think the balance steps are 10, 11, and 12, the maintenance steps basically, because this is basically where we're at. Okay, if you're into the 12 steps, I think that those would be the steps, and I can take them just as they're worded and do them just as they are, and that would probably help me with balance. Meditating, taking inventory, admitting where I'm wrong, working with others, helping others, all that kind of stuff, kind of leads to a balanced life. I think. Um, but I kind of was thinking about them a little bit differently. And so I kind of rewrote the 10, 11, and 12
Good.
specifically towards balance. So this
Let's
is
hear it.
okay. This is how I came up with it. So step 10, I said, continually monitor the emotional and physical warning signs that may indicate that I'm not spending my time in a way that aligns with my values. Adjust when possible to stay on track.
That is really good. I
So
like that a lot.
I'm just thinking that, as I go through my day, to be aware, to think about when am I hungry, angry, lonely, tired? You know, um, am I spending my time in what I really value? Am I spending my time appropriately? Am I budgeting as the right amount of time for these things? And
Yeah.
to kind of take an inventory of that, and then make adjustments when adjustments need to be made, because inevitably you're going to have to make adjustments.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. There's only 168 hours in a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I know the original step 10 is, thinking about, you continue to take inventory and make amends when you need to and all that kind of stuff. But I was kind of thinking about it in terms of, time management and balance. And then, of course, step 11, Are you a meditator, Mary?
I am. Hmm.
That's a
But
good
not
practice.
regularly. But it's my go-to tool when I need to balance, when I need to get back in harmony. And I prefer to listen to a guided meditation.
Mm,
Um, I do more of that than I do where I just breathe, because my thoughts are hard for me to let go,
mm-hmm.
let go. And I feel like when I just listen to them, I'm kind of in the hamster wheel of the inner critic. So I'd prefer to do a relaxation guided meditation where I can listen to someone else guiding my thought process. That's helpful to me.
I think it would be for me too. I might want to try that. I I think that meditation is very valuable as a tool, and it's one of those things I don't do. I
Oh,
don't.
yeah.
I've done it. I've had periods of my life where I've done it on a regular, consistent basis. We used to have like a meditation meeting,
Uh huh.
and I used to go to that, and it was a regular part of my life, and it was so good for me because it helps you take that time to pause,
Yes.
you
And to
know, and
recharge, recharge.
yep. And to real and yes, it really does. And I think it's important. Now, I might start my day. I do start my day before I go to work. I just sit there and have coffee, But I
Yeah.
can't really call that meditation. I'm just having coffee. I'm stimulating my brain with
But
caffeine.
you are, you're taking that quiet moment
But it
to
is a
just drink
quiet
your
time.
coffee. Yeah.
It is a quiet time to kind of settle myself down before I jump into the craziness of my work
Yes. Yeah.
environment.
So you're taking a step back and getting present, because
Yeah.
coffee understands us. Coffee's always there for me.
So for step 11, I wrote pause and reflect about how I feel, how I'm spending my time. Take time to sit quietly in contemplation. So I'm just thinking that, that's kind of like meditation basically. Just
Yeah.
just taking some time to slow down, maybe recognize my breathing, just
Hmm.
relax.
Recognizing your breathing is very important to being able to relax and come present
Just
in your
be
body. Yes.
yeah, just relax, get myself in tune with the present moment, and then maybe contemplate about whatever, allow the thoughts of my life priorities to come, allow those thoughts to come through and maybe just watch them go by. Maybe I don't need to grab on and do anything with them now, but just kind of be aware of that. And
Of the
just,
room that you're living in.
yeah, I'm just thinking that that would be a good practice,
Yeah.
to do something like that. Take care, Bree. Good to see you. Bree is going to open up the meeting in KC.
All right. Awesome.
Yep. So that's 11. And then for 12, I wrote, connect with others who also want to live a happy and fulfilling life and help each other to achieve that goal.
That is wonderful. That's very succinct, and that's true.
Yeah. So those are my 3 steps to a balanced life,
It's awesome.
stolen from Bill Wilson. And
But interpreted by John Sheldon.
right. So Joanna has a suggestion. She says the Headspace app has really helped her with
Hmm.
meditation. I haven't
Hmm.
tried that. I think my wife might have tried that.
Headspace is good. Calm is good. And if you just Google guided meditation on YouTube, you can do a
Hmm.
3 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute. They have guided meditations for everything possible.
I'm going to look into that.
Hmm.
She says that she used to struggle with it because she couldn't focus or clear her head, but now she knows it's about being present with whatever is in her head. I
Hmm.
learned that too from the days that I was meditating. We had this guy who's like an expert meditator come over or whatever, and he told us to think about your thoughts as either like clouds drifting through the sky or as a leaf floating on a stream, and that you just let your thoughts drift by and you don't grab onto them. And so what I learned from that is to use my thoughts in meditation to recognize that my brain is just going to produce them. So I'm not trying to have a blank mind, but I'm going to let my mind do its thing, but I'm not going to react to it. So I'm going to
Hmm.
let these thoughts just kind of go by.
Hmm. So you're going to be the observer.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That takes a lot of practice to do that.
Oh my God, so much practice. It's like
But
exercise, but
it
you do
is.
little bits and you get better and better.
It is. And just like
Hmm.
exercise, when you do it regularly, you get benefits from it and you enjoy it and you want to keep doing it.
But
But as soon as you stop, it's
you're
really
done.
hard to do it.
It
It's really
is.
hard to get back on it again.
But there's so many apps now, and there's so many places to do meditation that it's right at your fingertips. If you have a phone, you can do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Robert says, bike riding or walks in forest preserves my meditation. Also, no destination car rides. That's interesting.
Oh, yeah, I like that. That's a great idea.
And Fred says, Sam Harris has some good stuff on meditation on his Waking Up site and book by the same name.
Mm-hmm.
You check those things out. So, any other thoughts about this topic of balance?
Well, I think it's, excuse me, it's a wonderful goal, but it's perfection, not progress. I mean, it's progress, not
Progress, not
perfection.
perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
for
so I
sure.
think you can get out of balance by beating yourself up by the fact that you're not balanced. So
Yep.
for me, the self compassion part comes in, that if I know I'm off the beam, so to speak, then to just be kind with myself like I would any other human being, and not beat myself up over the fact that I'm not sleeping enough, that I'm doing all the halt symptoms in one day. Don't beat
Mm-hmm.
myself up about it. Just say, okay, we're gonna slow down, and we're gonna start over. And usually, what I do is I just get back in my body for a moment, and I notice where my feet are, because that's where I am. And I try to just get present. And then there's also an awareness meditation for anxiety that I've learned that is the senses. What do you hear? You just take a
Hmm.
moment to get back in your body. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? What are you smelling? What are you feeling? And it kind of just gets you back in your body, because I tend to get in my head when I'm going too fast. And then I'm not really present because I'm just trying to get all the stuff done on the list.
Hmm.
And so we do meditations in Savannah at our meetings before we close. We
Hmm.
do anywhere from a 1 to 3 minute guided meditation, or sometimes we
Oh,
just do breathing and we have a moment of silence at the end of the meeting, and everyone just closes their eyes or not. It's You can do whatever you want, and then we do it, and we either put it on a YouTube and play it through the with an online meeting, or someone leads it. And
mm-hmm.
it's a wonderful way to just get relaxed after the meeting and get kind of present. And everyone loves it. And I think it's like the 11th step in every meeting.
I think so too. And it's so helpful to do that with other people.
It is. And it's so helpful to just let someone else guide you through that also.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to do it when someone else is in charge of the time. And, relaxation, I feel that if my body's relaxed, I'm clearer and more calm in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I can always notice how I'm breathing, where my shoulders are, what I'm holding in. And sometimes we just go through the body and say, let your shoulders down, and let your belly be soft. And then just slow down your breathing, or take in more air if you feel like you need it. And then slowly just come back into the room and come present. And then you'll know, it's kind of like if you've ever had a massage. Once you've had the massage and you feel so much better, you didn't realize how much stress you were holding because it
Hmm.
became normal. And so it's really good to check in so you can let it go,
I
and
like it.
not normalize that much stress, because I'm really good at normalizing high stress.
Mm-hmm.
And
It sounds like you have such a great community out there in Savannah.
we do.
You really
It's
do.
awesome. It really is. It's a wonderful community of 4 meetings now, five almost. And the secular movement in AA has really taken hold,
Mm-hmm.
because the traditional AA is so strong there, and it's so religious,
Right.
that there was a need, so much of a need, that
Yeah.
it's really wonderful, and everyone that comes there loves it. And it's a very inclusive and loving and non-judgmental space, and that's what I really appreciate about the secular movement.
One of these days, Mary, I promise you, I'm going to go down there.
Good.
I
I
want to,
would
I
love
want to
it.
see that community, and I'd love to see the city, and it'd just be a great trip. I've been all over the South, but I've never been to Savannah.
Oh, it's
No.
great. If you
Yeah.
have you been to Charleston, South Carolina?
Yes, my cousin lived in
It's
Charleston.
similar. Okay, it's very
Mm-hmm.
similar. We're
Yeah.
not as crowded,
Yeah.
and we're not as fancy. It's Charleston's kind of bougie, And
Yep.
like in Charleston, they say, "Who was your grandmother?" And then in Savannah, they say, "What you drinking?" So we're a drinking town. We're a drinking town.
There's a funny saying. I can't remember how it went, but there's a saying in North Carolina about. I'm not going to try to say it, but it's like in one part of North Carolina, you worship your ancestors, and another part, you drink whiskey. I can't remember how it goes.
Yeah,
Or
that's
South
very
Carolina.
true.
I can't remember which one
Yeah.
it is, but yeah.
Yeah, well,
All
Savannah,
right.
you just drink, period.
I never knew it was such a drinking town until I met
Total.
you.
Oh my
That's so
God, you have
funny.
no idea. Yes.
Oh, Lordy.
Yep.
Okay, so let's wrap it up with some announcements, I guess. So we have these weekly meetings every Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And this coming week, we're going to hear from Glenn Rader. He is the author of Modern 12-Step Recovery, where
I
it's one of
can't
those books.
wait.
Mhm. It's a good book, and he just basically takes you through the steps. And I might want to reread it, or go through it again before he comes on. But that's one that you don't want to miss. And this week on Wednesday, I'll be posting the audio of the stream that we did with Kimiko a couple weeks ago. And that is such a great interview. She did a super job with her story and
Yes.
then talking with us afterwards. I really enjoyed that episode. And it's one thing when you do a live stream and you have a conversation with somebody and it's like, I really like what I'm hearing. But then when you go through the process of really listening and as you go through the editing of the audio,
You hear
it just
more.
blew me.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, it blew me away. Just her message and how she communicated and how I could just follow her story and I could see how she developed over time. She's really an amazing person. So
She is an
that
amazing person. She is. Yes.
that episode's coming out Wednesday. In fact, I need to email her to let her know that it will be out so she can
Yeah.
listen to it beforehand. But
Hmm.
anyway, so please be aware of that coming out. It's a little bit different than it's not that different, but the audio is cleaned up a little bit on that. So, Tim, thank you for your comment there.
Yes.
I'm
Thank
glad
you
that this
very
has helped
much.
you, and it's helped me too. I'm not going to pretend that I live in balance, but I'm one step closer to getting there now because of this. So, let's go ahead and play our funky disco music. That's, I think, the best way to get us out
Bye,
of here.
everyone. Thank you for being here.
Bye bye. Take care, all. And that's it. That's another live stream. We'll be back again next Tuesday. We need to figure out if we're going to have a guest or what we're going to talk about. I might talk to Mary about that when we sign off. Y'all take care. We'll be back again next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.